This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the light. It's time to make the Muppet.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another wonderful episode of a show I am so glad to be part of. And that is, of course, the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, Muppetational Podcast. Of course, yeah, see, I do. I have a cohort in this event because I could not do this alone. And one, you'd get tired of me. And two, the perfect person in the world to do this with me is none other than my friend Andy. Andy, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I am great. I am Muppetastic, I guess. Is that a word? I don't know. But I'm kind of the living embodiment of a Muppet. So I that's how it's
Are
like.
you
kind
a
of
man
like,
or a Muppet of a man?
I'd be a very manly Muppet. Yes, I heard that song the other day and I was singing it in the car because I am like kind of obsessed with the new Disney music channel on Sirius XM.
I told you you would be.
Well, there's a few reasons. One, it hits me with the great music from the movies I love. Two, I hear songs like that are from the Disney Channel from when my kids were little, so I get the feels there. Like I was literally rocking out to Choo Choo Soul, doing the alphabet song. Yes, it was like A B C D. I was rocking out to that in the car, and I was tearing up a little bit because I remember all the times, and then I heard the Special Agent Oso theme and all this other things, and I was just like, yeah, I love that channel, and also there's Muppet songs on there. I mean, come on, we got a while to go before we get to the Muppets, which is the one with Jason Segel. But Life is a Happy Song. If I'm in a bad mood, I put that song on, and it just instantly lifts me. So that's why I love the Muppets so much, because they lift you up. They're fun, they're goofy, they're hysterical, and part of my childhood, and such the creative force behind it, which is what I love about this. And I love doing podcasts with you, of course, Miranda. So I'm very happy here to discuss another 4 episodes of The Muppet Show.
We are on season 1. This is our 3rd episode. We are still in season 1 of The Muppet Show. And we're doing episodes 9 through 12 today. We're going to discuss them. And I wanted to let you guys know, I found out something really cool when I was doing my research, because we watch them and we research and we just kind of try to find different facts about the talent on each show. Because as you know, each time the show does have a special guest. So when I was doing that, I actually found a website. It's part of the fandom, it's like Fandom Wiki. Like they have their own app and everything. And there is a Muppet fandom site that breaks down pretty much everything Muppets, to include Random Muppets, Sesame Street. I think they even have Fraggles. So what's really cool, though, I found out about the Muppet Show is they actually provide a transcript of each Muppet Show epised. And I thought that was really cool. It was really cool.
Awesome.
Which we watch it with the closed caption. Caden, it's easier for him because sometimes if people talk too low or really, really fast, it just does something in his brain that he cannot understand. So he watches TV with closed captions. It's much easier for him. It distracts me, but I've gotten used to it now. So. Yeah. I thought having that transcript is really, really cool, though, because sometimes it's like, what did they say? Or like you want to read it like word for word because it's funnier. And so it's there for everyone. So not just us, but to everyone if you're interested or that is something that you might want to know about.
All right.
So kind of starting here, like we always do. Again, we are playing our game. One is a little morbid, but we are taking count of everyone. Two tally marks here. One is Miranda didn't know them. And the other one is they have unfortunately passed away. So the reason I bring that up is because unfortunately our guest for episode 109 is Charles Aznavour. And I did not know him.
I'll be honest, I didn't know who he was either. I mean, I probably saw this episode as a little kid, but I saw his name. I'm like, who the hell's that? Like, I don't remember this. So you can put a little a little check mark there as well.
Should we start at Andy did not know?
Well,
Should we-
I went through and I think there's about like 4 or 5 total. So
I thought.
Mhm.
So Charles Aznavour is French, and he's French Armenian, and he is a singer, lyricist, actor, and diplomat, and he was known for his distinctive tenor voice, which is very good, as we're going to discuss when we get to going. He actually had a career as a composer, singer, and songwriter spanning over 70 years, and he recorded more than 1,200 songs and interpreted in 9 different languages. Not to mention he did co-write more than 1,000 songs for himself as well as other people. Unfortunately, Mr. Aznavour did pass away in 2018 at the age of 94.
God bless, make it that far. Yeah.
Right? Like if you continue to read more about him, it's pretty interesting. He has an early life, a musical life. He actually has a little backstory in regards to World War II. I'm sure being French Armenian, that would be a tough time. So I definitely encourage you, as we're going through these, if you don't know much about these people, to learn more, because it's very interesting to find out who they are. So he, unfortunately, this week got a tally mark in both. I did not know him, and he has passed. So
Yeah.
a little sad, but yeah. So this episode, the basic breakdown of it, and if you've been listening to us, you know that we deep dive each little section. But when he is unable to get a spot on the show, Gonzo kind of asks Scooter to be his manager. Scooter advises Gonzo to do a rock act, banging on a large rock with a mallet. And later, Gonzo tries his hand at female impersonation, wearing a dress and a blonde wig. Scooter gives up managing Gonzo when he decides to eat his contract. So that is the main storyline that we're dealing with in this episode. So like the backstage gimmick is Gonzo and Scooter throughout the whole thing, which was pretty funny. And you pointed something out last time, that every time the Muppet Show opens, Gonzo's always there to hit the O, right? Or do something. And this time, he doesn't do the gong. He hits the O and big, and then a bell chime. Like he uses Big Ben's bells chime. So I liked, since you pointed that out, that it's something different every time, I've actually tried to pay attention to.
Yeah. And then when we get to the changes to the horn, obviously, I think it's season 2.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, it's funny is that season 1 is kind of new to me because I don't remember a lot of this stuff, and this is very.
I don't
also, the Muppets are some of the Muppets are different. This is when Piggy was being voiced by 2 different people. Gonzo was a little bit of a different design. Scooter
Piggy
was
a different design on top of her voice as well.
And Scooter plays the nepotism card a lot in this season. And this also has Fozzie in the open. I don't think Fozzie's in the open after this season, like where he has his little joke, little like quick hitter he does.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think he's in that. I mean, we'll find out. You know, this marks the halfway point actually for the first season for us. Once we get through this, there are 24 episodes, so we have 3 more episodes to do and then we get to do a very fun thing, which we can. I don't know if we want to spoil it now or we'll talk about it later. But I'm very excited. I mean, I'm loving this, but I'm also looking forward to our little what we're gonna do between seasons. So
I think we can tell them before, when we get closer to the end of the episode. Leave them in suspense for just a little.
Yeah, leave them wanting more.
Exactly. So our first little gimmick or act here, should we say, is a beautiful, what is referred to as whatnot. So I actually was looking it up because I just wrote Muppet when I was doing this, but she actually has a name. And so whatnots in the Muppet world are blank Muppet heads, which features and body parts and clothes are just added to make any character in the Muppet universe. So they appear like you have similar ones on Sesame Street. They're blank Muppets and they leave them there all the time, and they can be interchangeable with facial features and personalities, of course, as they are needed. So she is actually doesn't have a name. She's just one of the whatnots that Henson kept on set, and she's singing "I Feel Pretty" as she's preparing to go on a date. But she's removing her features piece by piece and replacing them with the face of a horrible monster.
Yeah. It was like, I wrote down like almost like a Mrs. Potato Head.
Exactly.
One thing I've noticed too is that the opening sketch is always a weird, odd sketch.
Strange. Yes.
And this was definitely up there with being odd and strange.
Yeah.
It was a nice song and all that stuff, but they always like, because the Muppets are not, Gonzo is a weirdo, but the Muppets are weird.
But Gonzo literally is a weirdo.
What the Muppets find funny is really out there sometimes, and
for sure.
That's kind of what the opening sketch kind of personifies every episode. And this was a good sketch though. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as freaky or creepy as some other things.
No, but I will say, on a side note, if you were doing some of the things that were done in the 70s, I would think that watching this would hit in a little bit different of a way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But I'll leave that up to the audience's interpretation of what I may mean.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, the really cool thing about this is, so she's doing this, and it turns out that her date is Beautiful Day Monster. That really is his name. He's very well known. He's kind of a little blue cookie monster-ish looking thing.
Yeah.
And he's very big. He's well known because he appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, ruining a girl's beautiful day. So he is the Beautiful Day Monster. So the Beautiful Day Monster actually turns out quite pleased with her transformation. And like you said, it's not as creepy as what we normally get.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, after this, we then do go backstage, which is where I was kind of telling you guys what happens backstage. So this is when Gonzo kind of approaches Kermit to find out why he hasn't been on stage to perform in weeks. And Kermit's explanation as to why. I have seen you eat a rubber tire to music, and I have seen you play a concert on your head with a mallet. And Gonzo, my dear friend, it doesn't work.
Yeah, basically Kermit craps all over his act, basically.
He does. This version of Kermit in season 1, I'm going to be honest, he's a little, he's the Kermit we love, but he's a little less endearing than he is known to be in what we remember him.
He's a little snippy. He's Kermit with an edge, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I apologize if Jazz just had a bunch of crazy noise. I just randomly knocked over my microphone like I'm 4. So, there's that. It happens. I should have been like, oh, it was my cat. And then listeners are going to be like, you don't have a cat? And be like, you're right. I was partaking in those 1970s things.
When did we get a cat? It's that guy in that Cheetos commercial.
So we do finally get Mr. Aznavour in his first appearance skit here, and it's the dance hall. I have a love-hate relationship with the dance hall skit. Sometimes I really love it. Other times I'm like, I don't know.
Well, it's not the ballroom dancing skit. This is its own separate thing where he's dancing with the purple lady Muppet. But then what's going on in the background? Y'all should know by now that Andy don't like that.
Which they are referred to, by the way, because we've talked about this so much. You're going to love this even more. They have a name.
God.
They are full-bodied humanoids.
Oh, no. That's a crime against humanity right there. I mean, I like my Muppets have to be like Muppet size. They could be big Muppets, but these things they're the humans with like a Muppet face and a Muppet head and a Muppet hands, and it's just like it just does not work for me. Andy don't like it.
Okay, so apparently the full-bodied humanoids are exactly what Andy said, and they are a class of full-bodied Muppets that were designed purposely to resemble human beings, and Andy can't handle it.
Oh, I can't. No. It's like up there with like Amy Winehouse. I can't stand Amy Winehouse. I can't look at her. I can't hear her. It's like I feel like Kramer who got triggered by like Mary Hart's voice. I can't.
Okay, I have a few words that are just like normal everyday vocabulary words that when someone says them, like I can't do them. It's the strangest thing. I have no explanation. It is what it is. So I get it. So we're still on the Gonzo thing.
Guys, I didn't mean to break Miranda already. We're early into the show.
It's okay. It happens. So we're back into Gonzo, and this is when he goes to Scooter, and he gets Scooter to manage him. And this is where Scooter says, well, why don't you do this? Start having him do a rock act, or rather an act where Gonzo repeatedly hits a rock with a mallet while shouting, "Art! Art!" Which is actually funny to me.
Yes, it was.
Funny. But then we get a skit that you and I both love.
Mm-hmm.
We get Veterinarian's Hospital.
Yeah, this one was a little on the darker adult side, though. Rolf was getting high on the gas. And it was this was like a little bit of a darker one for me.
It was dark. Dr. Bob, played by Ralph, is determining that his patient has died, but all is not lost, because Dr. Bob's record is saving 9 out of 10 of his patients, and this was number 10.
There you go. It's a good batting average. I think also for me, like with Veterinarian's Hospital, I think once we get Piggy and Janice, both of them, into their voices that we know.
Oh my God. Yes.
Then to me it'll start really like picking up for me, I think, a little bit, because this is kind of like for me it's like a twisted memory, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah. Like
where I remember some of this stuff, but it's not the way I remembered it, kind of thing. And I think once we get to season 2, that's when it really, like, I'm looking at like the guest stars, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one. But now this is all like almost like new to me, kind of. So
it is to me too. There's another skit that becomes a habitual, or reoccurring rather is the word, skit that I love just as much as Veterinarian Hospital. We haven't gotten it yet, and it is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm really waiting to get to it. And then there's a song I remember specifically that Janice's crew doing, and we haven't gotten to it yet either. So I'm really like itching to get to the things that are like my favorites.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
So Sweet Hilda has brought Charles a meal of roast chicken, salad, and French bread. And Charles points out that the bread is not actually a French loaf, because, he's French.
Mm-hmm.
The bread disagrees because he has a French accent. This Muppet is actually called French bread, right? Though, by the way.
Okay.
He has a name if you look him up, because you can look up the Muppets by name. He's called French bread.
Oh, there you go.
So apparently, I don't know why, but I found this silly. It really makes no sense. It's just a little filler thing, but I found it really funny.
It's Muppet, That's
it is. It's Muppet. It's a loaf of bread speaking to you in French, saying, "Look at me again. I am actually French bread." And
I wrote in my notes LOL, because I was like, French bread. It was like one of those. I think I was watching it late at night. I probably started cracking myself up, and my dog was looking at me, "Oh, what's going on, man?"
That really late night where everything's funny anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be a little punchy, yeah.
So at the dance finally happens, the real at the dance, and Miss Piggy dances with the garbage man, who delivers a banana, also shares a few terrible banana puns.
Yeah.
They were pretty bad, but they were on the bad level of, like, I was laughing really hard because I find dad jokes completely hysterical.
Yeah, and that's
like,
pretty much what the whole
stupider the better.
And the ballroom dance scene, all those jokes are dad jokes. So.
Oh, they're bad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bad dad, whatever you want to call them. They're pretty bad, but sometimes I just sit there with the look on my face like I don't get it. But for the most part, I laugh really hard, and it makes no sense.
Yes.
Animal's dance partner was pretty funny when she shows him what it's like to dance with him, like what it's like to be his partner.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We have discussed it before, but that there are UK spots that did not appear when the show aired in the US. It appears from everything that I'm watching that those UK spots are present inside of the Disney Plus show. Yeah. We're watching the same thing. So. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm not noticing the differences. So.
Yeah. So this is one of the Jubilee jug bands. Mm-hmm. With "Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight?"
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I like these. They're nice.
Yeah.
They're nice filler transition. Get you from
They
one
are.
sketch to the other.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have Electric Mayhem in every, every time. So.
Yeah. Well, and just like parts of the world and parts of the country, there are different like favorite kinds of music. So I think it's really cool that we have other little groups every now and then.
Mhm.
So we have our talk spot. And our talk spot is a reoccurring, usually where Kermit has a discussion with the guest of honor. Every now and then, talk spots do not happen. This one does. And Kermit is very intrigued, and he wants to know why Frenchmen are so lucky in love. And I found this absolutely hysterical. I want to know what you think, because Charles basically does what he calls demonstrating the romantic power of his native language. And they use Piggy by whispering in her ear in French.
Mm-hmm.
And Kermit is like, but what do you say? What did you say to her? And actually, all he said is, your oil filter has a leak and your transmission is sagging.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, when there's a sexy accent or a sexy language, I don't care what you read to me. You got me. Like there was a girl that bartended at a place I DJ'd years ago, and she had a very like raspy, like sexy Scottish accent. I'm like, you could just read me your grocery list, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
and you're so yeah,
Right.
and Piggy, does pretend or think she could speak French because refers
She's
to
like,
herself
oui,
as
oui.
moi.
Enchanté. Like
Oh,
words
yeah.
that we all know.
Yes. Enchanté. Yes, and then when she gets I mean, Piggy just wants somebody to pay attention to her. That's what she wants.
Right.
And then he speaks the language of love into her ear. It's very nice.
Oh my God. So backstage, things with Gonzo are still kind of crazy.
Mhm.
Scooter's been scouring wardrobe department for Gonzo to do a costume act. He does insist that female impersonation is noble art. Kermit is against it, but Scooter's uncle loves the idea. And here comes the nepotism card that
Mhm.
Andy was referring to. Maybe there's a new game of, is this nepotism?
Well, every time he name drops his uncle, it is.
Yeah, for real. And sometimes he does it like multiple times in one episode. So I don't know.
I don't remember Scooter being so much of a jerk. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, he's very different from what I remember as well.
Yeah.
Kermit agrees to this because obviously he doesn't want to upset Scooter's uncle. So he allows him to go on after the dancers. And Gonzo asks, what will he do when he goes on stage? To which Kermit replies, duck.
Yes, it's quite funny.
Our panel discussion, which I love these, some of them are silly and some of them are actually really funny. This one is, what is man's role in the universe? Sometimes they ask very deep questions. Now,
Yeah.
it's the Muppets, and they're not going deep, but we get Sam the Eagle, which you and I have talked about a couple of times already, and we really like him. He's just kind of like this whole, like, here for wholesome content.
Yeah, he's the square, basically.
He is a square, but he loves him some wholesome content. So Sam believes that man's role is to be decent and work hard. Mildred does not believe that man can roll in the universe. He's not round enough to roll, is what she said, which I was dying laughing. And then Gonzo literally takes every phrase. So this is the whole episode. Gonzo's actually kind of doing this as well. He takes every phrase very literal.
Yes.
I found this hysterical because this is my child.
Mhm.
Because my child takes things so literal. Because of this, though, he hits Sam with his mallet, and it ends the whole discussion in this giant scuffle.
Yes. Well, I putting Gonzo and Sam on the same side is just like, that's just asking for trouble. I mean, it is hysterical though, because think about two polar opposites in personality in terms of the Muppets. You could definitely see how Sam just loses his patience and just has it with Gonzo.
Right.
You are all weirdos, as Sam
Pretty
would
much.
say. And we get the purple lady's name is Mildred Hotstetter. So
Mildred. Yeah.
that's what we've been referring to her as the whole time.
Yeah.
And there's Kermit in the middle.
We get one of your favorite things, which is Fozzie's comedy act. with Statler and Waldorf. They basically, again, bury him with his own punchline.
Yeah.
Ozzy. Oh, you do that so well. I love these two old guys. They could have like their own show and I would just watch it.
Yeah, they should do shorts with them just heckling like something. Like watch Waldorf and Statler, heckle the New York Yankees, or we're gonna heckle Bobby Flay or something like that. I would just
would be. I
would just love them just doing these shorts on like Disney Plus where they just heckle something common and they do it in their own way.
I don't know if you've seen him, but he got really big. He wasn't well known before COVID hit, but his name is Nigel I can't remember his last name. I don't want to butcher it. But he does this skit called Uncle Roger. Mm-hmm. And that's basically kind of what he does is he watches all these other big name chefs and different, like the BBC and then Jamie Oliver, and he critiques their egg fried rice.
Oh, God.
Of course, Uncle Roger is a character, so he's playing this character. And it's really, really funny. So I would like to see Statler and Waldorf do like an Uncle Roger thing where maybe like one episode they watch Bobby Flay cook something. And then like another episode maybe they go watch the guys from Forged in Fire do something. And then they just like comment on it the whole time. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, Disney, I have an idea. Okay?
Yeah, it's basically like Beavis and Butthead, but like with old curmudgeons.
Yeah. The whole thing is hysterical. And they end up getting into it though. Then because Waldorf's like, don't heckle me, you old fool, heckle him. And then Statler, they heckle each other. It's really funner. And then it ends up kind of running amok.
Yes. Amok.
Different show, also Disney. So at this point, Scooter's decided not to manage Gonzo. It's come done and over with, and he's presented to him with a standard 50-page managerial contract, which, Gonzo eats it, and Kermit just hopes that the contract is not binding.
Get it?
So we get our last bit with Charles. So our last act is Charles. He sings an endearing little song called The Inchworm. It was first performed in Sesame Street in season 2. So it is a Sesame Street song being pulled over, which happens in another episode that we're going to discuss tonight. But it's really cute and endearing, and it has a chorus of Muppet school children. It was a very nice little calm close to the show.
Yeah, it was a nice little song.
It was cute. Mm-hmm. And then by the closing, by the way, Charles and the loaf of bread are now friends. Since meeting them, they've become friends now. So there's that. Charles is opening.
Go ahead.
Huh?
No. I was just gonna say overall, I enjoyed this episode. It's not like one of my favorites, but I did enjoy it.
And some of these it may seem like we're rushing through, and then others we talk extensively on, and I think it's because we like really loved something in one and not the other, or it's just a quick episode, because they do range in time frame. But on Disney Plus, most of them tend to be only about 22, 26 minutes long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is probably accounting for commercial time in a 30-minute time slot. So. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will note that on Muppet Show Season 1 DVD, Charles's opening act, The Old-Fashioned Way, is actually cut out. The song is, however, the song and its introduction do appear fully intact on the German release of the show, including the English soundtrack. Don't know why. Very strange, but that's just kind of like neat little things to...
Yeah, one of those weird facts.
Yeah, little fact. Mm-hmm. So we move on to episode 10, which is Harvey Korman. Mm-hmm. Harvey Korman, I didn't know either. I had to look at I didn't know. He was one of those, like, I didn't know who he was, and then as I looked him up, I was like, you do know who he is.
I was gonna say that hurts my heart, Miranda. He's so funny.
When they just said his name and they were like, Harvey Korman, I was like, I I'm not sure that I know who this is.
See,
And then when I looked him up, to actually look up Harvey Korman to see if he was alive and who he was, I was like, you do know him, but I'm still going to keep him in the did not know because I had to look him up to be reminded of who he was. So,
this is kind of where our age difference shows, because I grew up on the Carol Burnett show.
Right.
And him, I mean, look, Miranda, if you've never seen this, and anybody out there, if you've never seen it, go on YouTube and look up the dentist sketch where Harvey Korman plays the patient and Tim Conway is the dentist, and
yes.
he ends up numbing himself, the dentist does. And it's been stated, like, in interviews that Harvey Korman breaks very easily character. Like, he just starts cracking up, and Tim Conway,
like, he can't help it.
Yeah, Tim Conway knew that. So it's him really trying to get Harvey. Like, you see it, like, in a lot of episodes. Also, though, if you're a Mel Brooks fan, Harvey Korman, he's
been in several.
Hedley Lamar in Blazing Saddles. He's the Count of Money, D. Monet in History of the World Part 1. Yeah, he's in so many Mel Brooks movies, and Harvey Korman is hysterical. Yes.
But sadly for me, when they just said his name and I saw him briefly, I didn't remember who he was. So it took me looking him up, and then I went, yes, I knew exactly who he is. My grandmother used to watch Carol Burnett Show. Obviously, I watched tons of reruns of it, but it wasn't hitting for me.
It just didn't connect the dots.
It didn't connect the dots, because he's even done things. He has been voices for, like, Buzz Lightyear, Star Command. He was in Garfield and Friends. He's done guest appearances on Suddenly Susan, ER, Ellen. He was on Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Radioland Murders with Ned Beatty and Jeffrey Tambor. So these are all things that I'm familiar with. It just took me a second to realize who he was.
Okay.
And unfortunately, he did pass away May 29th of 2008 at the age of 81. Mm-hmm. So, very funny guy with a very extensive list of accolades there. Definitely, like Andy said, if you haven't seen some of his other works, look him up. He's really interesting. I was glad to realize I did know who he was. So, for this one, this is repeated from episode 102, but the change for Gonzo is this time he breaks the center of the O in the logo, basically by hitting it repeatedly. Kermit, actually the main story of this one, usually it is Heavy Kermit. It's not. It's Harvey. Harvey is embarrassed about being the token person on the show.
Yes.
So Kermit welcomes the audience to the show. He wants to start the show with a high note. This is the first time we have this happen. He's like, I want to start with a high note. And there's a trumpet. It's like, in his ear. I have always loved that. That's a redone thing. Waldorf suggested it's better than starting with a bang, which does lead them to get Crazy Harry.
Yeah, and what's funny is that Statler and Waldorf, they handle Crazy Harry pretty handily. Where not a lot of people get, Crazy Harry, like, to the point where he doesn't, hit the plunger on his boombox there. And no, I was impressed there. They're a little handsy, those two. Don't mess with them.
Right. So we do open the show up with Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, and they sing Love You to Death. Yeah. As everything is exploding around them, starting the show with actually a bang.
Yeah, I love Electric Mayhem. I would love for them to put, like, we pitch all these ideas about the Muppets because literally, like, I have lots of dream jobs, to be.
We all do.
To write and for God help me if I ever knew how to draw, I would love to have been an animator. But, like, working on Muppet stuff, and if they did, like, an Electric Mayhem concert, like, it doesn't even have to be that long. Half an hour of the Electric Mayhem rocking out just like a concert special. Oh, give me that. I'm down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love it. So apparently this is one of those songs that we mentioned in the very first episode that there was actually a television show prior to the Muppet Show seasons that kind of is what made them at first think that this wasn't for TV. And that's where that song "Love You to Death" actually was from, was the Muppet Show "Sex and Violence." I don't know where you find that to watch that, but remember we talked about it when
Yes,
it aired, and people were like, "What?" Because Henson wanted to be not known as just a kids performer. And at the time, I guess he just was a little too out there until he kind of like honed in and rolled back Kermit and the gang here. So Kermit actually introduces the drummer Animal, going over his love of drumming, food, and his influences, including Tony Checkers, who will replace him next week, was what they said.
Yes.
An Animal then beats this idea out of Kermit's head.
Yes, I love how expressive Animal is, especially with the eyebrows. Yeah, he
Animal is like...
Animal is a very complex character of few words, but again, he is up there in the upper echelon, I think, in characters in my book.
He emotes well, is all I was going to say.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I agree with you, though. I think he's higher. He's higher on my list. We'll have to do that as we start going through these. Right now, I couldn't do it, but eventually, maybe we'll give you our top 5-ish.
Yeah. We could do a Muppet tournament.
Oh, God, we should. Okay, we should. More to come later. We should do a Muppet tournament. Tournaments are a lot of work.
No, that's why we haven't done one. Well, actually, peel back the curtain. Trivia night has taken up my time from the curtain. But trivia night is coming to an end within the next month and a half. So once that's over, we are going to do another tournament. So stay tuned for that.
Cool. One of my skits that I really like, I think you kind of are weirded out by it, is the talking houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like them. I think it's really cool. I like them.
I mean, I think they're fine. But they're good.
The left house has pain on her insides due to movers. It's dad jokes. Dad jokes. I can't help it.
I know.
So one of my favorite skits on here was Harvey playing Maurice the Magnificent as an animal tamer who tries to tame the dangerous and actually extremely docile Thog. Thog doesn't bother you, right? Because he's not.
No, I love Thog.
You love Thog? Okay.
He doesn't look like a human. That's all. He's like I told you, Sweetums
true.
doesn't bother me. Yeah, Thog is so cute, and I honestly, he talks in this sketch. I don't remember him ever talking.
I didn't either. I'm going to be honest. I am glad that you didn't remember, because I didn't remember this either. He's a full-bodied Muppet. He actually is 9.5-foot tall blue monster, and his size may make him seem very imposing, but he's super sweet, and he has a very gentle disposition. Yeah. So Thog actually comes out and compliments Morris.
He's actually the largest Muppet, I think.
I'm not sure about that, but you may be correct. He's 9.5 feet tall. I'm going to say probably.
Yeah.
So Maurice eventually makes his wild beast dance, only to unexpectedly make part of a duo by the end of the act, and he's thrown into the cage. This whole thing is super endearing, though, because he just keeps complimenting him.
Yes.
Thog does.
Yeah, you're very good with that whip.
Yeah, and he's like whipping the ground, and he's like, "Away, beast, away!" Like.
He's like, I'm trying to be a tough animal trainer. You've got so much patience and courage and persistence.
Right.
Shut up!
Like my giant dog here, people like back away from him, and he just runs up to them like, "Do you have food? Will you be my friend? I like you. Yeah, why are you scared of me? I don't understand." Yeah.
It's like my Toby, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get it. We get a new panel discussion, and this time Kermit asks the panel, Miss Piggy, another pig, a whatnot, and Harvey. So we get another whatnot. What is the meaning of life? So, Harvey, it gets deep. What do you think about this one?
Oh, yeah. This is, what I love about Harvey is messing with Piggy so much.
Oh, yeah.
It's love is like a tennis, it's like a tennis game.
That's what he says, too.
Yeah. And
Harvey suggests it's a tennis game.
And this gets
got
Miss
a lot of
Piggy.
pig puns, doesn't he?
Yes, that's where it is. And I love how they do the back and forth with the like they're watching a tennis match.
Yes.
And Piggy just slowly starts losing her cool, and the hair is going everywhere, and Harvey's just very calm and just knows that he's getting to her. It's kind of like the inverse of what happened in the last sketch.
Oh, for
because Harvey
sure.
was the one that kind of lost his patience. Hmm.
Yeah.
Can we have a
It's
little
really
water here?
funny.
I'll have a ham and cheese on rye.
Oh, yes. What I did notice though, and it caught me off guard, and I feel like we've talked about this. This is episode 3 for us. I would think we've mentioned this like every single time now, is that there is clearly some out of order episode-ness going on here, or maybe when they were recording them, they just recorded them and then picked,
Yeah.
because he says, Kermit, to end all this discussion is, join us next week for our conversation of, is conversation a dying art? And that was one of the conversations from one of the ones we've already watched.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
And one thing I noticed that the glasses for the Muppets for their water are shot glasses. I
Yes.
never noticed that till just now.
So we go back to the dance where we have Mildred finding herself attracted to George. George is, we actually brought him up last time because we liked how he was becoming more of a character. George is crotchety old custodian of the Muppet Theater. His prominent appearances were on the first season of the show, so I don't know how much we'll get of him after that.
Well,
but
I think because we have another character that comes in, kind of takes over his
that's true.
his role and has a bit more personality. Who actually is in my B tier, that character. So
Yeah.
I kind of like him, especially when we get to the Great Muppet Caper as well. So
But George is also in Muppets Christmas Carol and Muppets Tonight, so we're not getting rid of him.
yeah,
entirely.
he sticks around, but he moves more
Yeah,
to
he
the
does.
background.
And then Ralph finds a guy with a swell balloon head, which he brings up, and it proceeds to, the guy actually has a name. It was Balloon Head Conductor, and his balloon head explodes.
Which is something we'll see also in a couple episodes.
Yes.
That more.
So backstage, Ralph and Muppy, which I love Muppy. Muppy's such a butthead. Suggest their worries of ecology to Harvey. With no trees, the dogs are in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
that's kind of important. You know, believe me, my dog loves the trees.
my dog loves the trees too. We get Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem again returning for the UK spot, as it's so lovingly intertwined here. Whatever, my word went bleh out the window. And they sing the Sweet Tooth Jam.
Oh yeah, this is a big
of course.
Zoot. This is a big Zoot song because a lot of
Yeah.
horn in this one.
I love this one because Animal is just yelling "jam" throughout the number,
I
and I love
mean,
it.
they are rocking out, man, in this one.
They are, and then jam, like
Jam. Well, on. We should just do like a whole bunch of just Andy doing Muppet voices and
I was gonna say, do we
it's
just wanna,
inserting
like,
them.
You can just insert us making Muppet noises and sounds.
Yes.
We get our talk spot, and this is where the main theme of the show actually really comes to fruition. Kermit worries that the guest isn't having a great time, so he feels like Harvey isn't having a really good time. Harvey kind of complains, it's not that I'm not having a great time, but I'm the token person on the show. You know, there's dogs and frogs and pigs and chickens, and he kind of has a fear of hoof and mouth disease, and he just is feeling weird about his experience. The Muppets dress him up in a chicken suit. So upon the experience, Harvey pronounces that he feels better, and he feels like he's going to lay an egg.
Harvey's always the straight man. That's the thing, and
Yeah.
and if good straight men are like the hardest. Like if even though there's a sidebar, if you look at Abbott and Costello, Abbott actually got paid more because it was a tougher job to stay so even keel. And,
Yeah.
I mean, anybody could lash out. I mean, and I obviously love Lou Costello so much, but being a straight man and being able to say these things, it's like Adam West kind of thing in Batman. Like you have to say these ridiculous lines like you're doing Hamlet, and that's kind of what Harvey's doing here. He's kind of talking about hoof and mouth disease, but he's being very matter of fact about it, which is cool.
Yeah. So we get Veterinarian's Hospital again, and this patient has the hiccups. Dr. Bob is actually not concerned about the patient. He is more concerned with his own problems, such as being overworked and underpaid. much to the point that eventually the patient actually explodes. And so he just decides to quit while he's ahead.
Yeah. Why? Well, there's nothing else you could do, right?
Literally quit while he's ahead.
He gets stabbed in the hand with the scalpel, and yeah, Dr. Bob had a little too much coffee, maybe. I don't know. The hours interminable.
Right. We get our lovely Sam. He cries throughout Wanda and Wayne singing "I Get a Kick Out of You." And Wayne actually does kick her at the end.
They're like, I like Wayne and Wanda. Again, another blind spot for me because I don't remember them much. I don't know how.
I didn't either.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're like what would happen if we have Shakespearean actors with I guess in a circus. That's kind of what they are.
Yeah. Sam is crying though due to both the tear in his eye thinking of them because he thinks they're wholesome and he loves them, but he's also kind of embarrassed because Wayne kicks her. It's called a blackout. It's a short comic sketch that kind of like end the lights kind of do a quick off on close the curtain call. They would done it a lot in shows like Laugh-In and trying to think of some others. But it's kind of like a type of cut. So that's what we have, and we have TR the rooster. So now he's really embracing his chickenhood. Harvey is rather, and he loots a platoon of chickens, wondering how he could get out of this chicken outfit.
Yes, because outfit has two meanings.
Right.
His chicken outfit and an outfit of chickens. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. And Muppy keeps them all in line.
Yes.
So Fozzie Bear does an act with Kermit, requiring him to say "good grief." The comedian's a bear, but at the moment he says "here," there's a problem because of homophones. Mm-hmm. So what he means is "here," like as in HERE. It's just this whole like who's on first.
Yeah, it's very. I wrote in my notes very Abbott and Costello like.
Yeah.
Where it's a mispronunciation or misinterpretation. It's like I don't know, everybody knows the who's on first, but if you ever hear like Hurts You Drive, which is another famous sketch of theirs, it is very like that, where it's just silly, and the point is for like one to like really lose their cool. Again, Abbott and Costello, like.
It was. I like this one. It was really funny, and it leads to Kermit getting like really irritated in a really bad Italian accent, saying, "No, it's not. He's wearing a necktie." I apologize to anybody that's Italian. That again, it was a really bad Italian accent on purpose.
Molto bene mangiare. Yeah, he's wearing a necktie. I tell you.
A necktie. We get a Muppet newsflash with middleweight champion Carl Boomer, who can't find anyone to defend his title against, so he's fighting himself.
Yes.
He thinks he can knock himself out in the 10th round. The newsman, however, thinks his head is down for the count.
Yeah. Or work on my Bible.
So we get a Muppet that I actually really adore. It's Kermit's nephew. He's kind and he's a clever little kid who sometimes feels unnoticed because he is super small. He spends a lot of time with his uncle and friend Sweetums. And, of course, he is part of the Frog Scouts. So we're going to start seeing him pop up. And I think it's so endearing that he and Sweetums are friends. Because, Sweetums is, like, ginormous. He's one of the ones that you like. He's the large, hairy ogre Muppet that kind of towers above most humans that come on the show.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Is this Robin's first appearance? The first time we've seen him.
Yeah, I think it's his first time that we've seen him. I don't remember seeing him in the 8 episodes, we're on 10, so I don't remember seeing him in the 9 prior to this.
Yeah.
But this is when he comes in and sings his little song halfway down the stairs. It's just super cute. The lyrics are actually from a poem, and the tune was written to kind of for this, the gentleman that wrote the tune, put many of the woman's poems, Melanine. Anyway, I probably butchered that, so sorry. He put a lot of her poems to music. It's Robin's only significant performance during the first season of the Muppet Show, it says.
Okay.
Before he really became known, and that's when we start getting his friendship with Sweetums and the Frog group, which is basically like Boy Scouts, Frog Scouts.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we come to a close. At the closing, Kermit does reintroduce Harvey as Chicken Little. And Harvey's decided he is sick of the chicken bit, and of course Kermit apologizes. Which I thought was great. It was like a great way. He just kind of kept this chicken bit going, and it was really funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did find out that portions of this episode were actually taped later than Harvey's material, including most of Kermit's introductions, opening theme bits, and even Statler and Waldart's comments about Harvey. So that kind of makes it even funnier that these were recorded at like separate times and put together the way they were.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably like would shoot like, maybe with different guest stars throughout the day, and then have days without the guest stars to fill in the blanks. Yeah, I'd be very curious. I would love like a documentary on like the behind the scenes of how they made the Muppet Show. I would love that. Like, I literally just give me anything Muppets and I'm watching it kind of thing.
Right. I actually found a whole bunch of Muppet books at one point, and I want to try it, but they're only like in print form, where it's like, I think like one was King Arthur and the Round Table, but it's like Muppets, and it's like a book. And I want to get all of these and read them because I never knew they existed. Like, and maybe I did, but I truly don't remember them. I found them on Amazon. I'm determined to get these, and like, I think they would be a cool addition to Muppetness.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, so that kind of gets us halfway through. We have 2 more episodes to discuss as we're breaking them down into 4s to make it more palatable for everyone. But before we kind of move on to 11 and 12 and round out everything here, in case maybe you just stumbled across us and you've listened to us talk about Muppets for 20, 30 minutes, and you're like, who are these people? Like, what is this feed that I have come across?
Yes.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about Place to Be Nation, Andy? And what we have here.
Well, Place Nation is a great place. It is the place to be, the only place to be in your pop culture world. We are, sports, entertainment, pop culture, wrestling. We have a little bit of something for everybody. And we have, we have a couple of feeds here, plus our associates in the Quadapods. We have a website, placefornation.com, where all the pods are featured. We also have great articles up there. We have column on Disney. We have Paulie's Perspective, which is all about, our good friend Paul Bernardo, who talks about things in the entertainment world that he wants to talk about. Basically, it's every Thursday. We also have wrestling articles. We also have a Facebook page for Place Nation. We have a Facebook group called The Place to Be, where it's a great community. It's just all kinds of people post interesting stories in there. We do our tournaments in there. We have. You get those, which one of these would you pick? You have to lose one, or which is your favorite? You get jumped by ninjas. Which action hero is going to help you? Those kind of goofy things. It's good ways to have fun and some interesting discussions. And then also on this very feed, lots of great shows. This is the Place Nation Pop Experience you are listening to right now. And all kinds of sports and pop culture shows are on here. Miranda and I talk about the Muppets. Miranda and I also talk about with our friend Steve Riddle. We're covering the animated Disney classics. The last episode that went up was the Sword and the Stone. That was your episode. Well,
it was.
Well, we kind of do a thing where one of us has particular feelings on a movie. That person leads the discussion. And Miranda led the discussion on that show. But we also have coming up, I believe, The Jungle Book is next, followed by the Aristocats, and I'm losing it a little bit.
I don't remember.
I know.
So many. It's actually the correct order in which they came out. So
yes,
if you want to follow along with us, you can follow along the list of Disney projects as they came out, the major motion picture movies.
And those are monthly. So it will be you will hear in June The Jungle Book, in July The Aristocats, and in The end of July / beginning of August is Robin Hood. So that's where we're up to. And then after that, I believe we have the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh and the Rescuer. So yes, we're going in a theatrical release order, and I have been loving this show so much. It is so much fun to talk about, and Steve and Miranda are great to discuss with. And yeah, and Miranda has another show. You have Telly and T on this.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Tell us a little bit about Telly and T.
Telly and T is with my friend Ben. He is from one side of the pond, and I am the other, which coincidentally I live overseas now, but I'm still American. So as an American and a Brit, we kind of discuss television shows together and our different reactions to them. And it's really funny. We also tell you about a tea during our episodes and let you explore the world of tea drinking because we are both tea lovers. Yeah. So yeah, check out all of the stuff, all of the feeds, anything that you want to know, just go to BePlaceToBeNation.com. You can check out past and present shows alike for Pop Experience, and all the other feeds as well that we kind of advertise together with. We all kind of work together and support each other. So anything you need to know, either check us out PlaceToBeNation.com or head on over to Facebook and join Place to Be group where you can chat with all of us, pretty much every host from all of the different podcasts.
You can reach out to Miranda and I through Facebook because, we run this feed and, we're looking for, great ideas. You want to comment, you want to be on a pod. If you don't want to do your own podcast, you want to be a guest on one of the pods that we do, why not? I've taken people that have just messaged me say, I want to be on Laughing Theater. I'm like, sure, why not? And I've done some episodes with people that have done that. So, just reach out to us if you like what you're hearing and you kind of want to be part of it. You want to get on podcasting because really, honestly, this is just me and a good friend of mine talking about things that we love, and we just happen to be recording it and putting it up for people. So this is something like Miranda and I would probably do anyway. We do chat on the Skype and all that stuff, but we're doing it with to share it with everybody basically. So if you have something that you're passionate about and you want to share with people, come on board. That's all.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. A lot of people that were guests on previous shows, various different shows, had actually turned out to now be hosts of ours on other shows. Ben, for example, that I do Telly and Tea with, was a guest and is now a host here. Yeah. So definitely check out all of those things. And if you're loving our Muppets content, then stay here because we're going to start with episode 12 with Lena Horne.
Episode 11, actually.
Oh, this is 11. Yeah, we're going to 12, but this is 11 with Lena Horne. And I am sad to say this is like an episode filled of Miranda didn't know. So, I did not know who Miss Lena Horne was. Oh. I didn't. I was not familiar with her, even after looking her up. She's a lovely woman, but Lena Horne is an African-American dancer, actress, Grammy-winning singer, and a civil rights activist. Her career spread over 70 years, appearing in film, television, and theater, and she joined the chorus of the Cotton Club at age of 16 and became a nightclub performer before moving to Hollywood. She advocated for human rights and took part on the March in Washington in August of 1963. Unfortunately, all of her amazing work, she did pass away on May 9th of 2010 at the age of 92. So
I gotta say, I know Lena Horne. I don't know that much about her. She's a beautiful woman. Actually, I love her smile. I think she's got one of the prettiest smiles I've ever seen.
She's very...
And a great voice. But I got to tell you, this is probably my least favorite episode of the ones we've done so far.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. There was no silliness in this episode.
There really wasn't. No. Well, briefly, but not a whole lot.
But not involving Lena Horne at all. I mean... if we go back to the Jim Nabors episode, you think it's going to be straight laced. When he's doing that song, and then all the wind picks up and all that. That's silly. We had none of that here. Yeah. And Lena is delightful. She is a great singer and everything. And it's not a bad episode either. It's just
It's just an episode.
We're looking at this as grown-ups as something. And kind of not critical, but I'm making notes and I'm kind of sitting there this is nice, but it's not Muppet to me.
No.
It didn't get enough Muppetizing as that is. the word.
Yeah, okay, I can agree with that. So the main premise of this is that Kermit has decided to cut Miss Piggy from the schedule, her song, so she won't look foolish. Backstage, he confides in Scooter and says that he's afraid that her going on after Lena, she will appear kind of foolish because, I mean, it's going up against Lena.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't, he tells her that there are singers and then there are singers, kind of making her think. And so Piggy is going through this thinking that he doesn't want me to show up, Lena. Oh, okay. Well, I won't do that to her then. I won't do that to her. So we have Gonzo, of course, starting it off this time when he hits the gong, which is the O in show. It sounds like a foghorn. We get a brief silly, which Andy was referring to, which is the Muppets Mops performing Rag Mop.
Rag Mop.
Oh,
I said Rag Mop. Yeah.
Rag Mop. So I remembered the song, but not the sketch whatsoever.
No, not at all for me. I was just like, what are we doing here? This is.
I think I've heard the song because we had like the Muppets, like this is gonna make me like we had like the vinyl and the CDs.
I did
and
too.
tapes.
I did. I was.
So
I got to go through
I
that. My
remember the
parents' house.
song. I do, but I don't remember this act specifically.
Yeah.
Lena comes on and she sings a very beautiful, again, like you said, even with the Muppets as part of it. It's just a very like it's kind of in this deserted train station in the mountains, very calming song called "I Got a Name." Endearing. I think this episode and the next we probably won't go super in depth because, as Andy said, it's just not very Muppety Muppet.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes, no shenanigans. There's very little, not a lot of shenanigans in this episode.
I have a lot of very calming. I think I wrote that down like 3 times. I'll be honest, it says like very calming. We have a Muppets news flash. Our newsman reports on Miss Lola Bramswell, who's played by Lena, her unique diet. Now, I'll have to say, this is my favorite sketch of the whole episode, and do you know why?
Why?
Well, because Miss Lola Bramswell's unique diet in which she's eaten nothing but seaweed for the past 10 years. And he asks her, she's done it twice a day, or he asked her, is there any problem with your diet? And she said, well, no, but twice a day I find myself going in and out with the tide. And he goes, that might be a difficult feat for someone living in Kentucky.
She said she's from Covington, Kentucky, right?
Covington, Kentucky, yeah. So
look at that.
That's my home state, 15th state of the United States of America. We see it again appear in the Muppets, where they will show an honorary picture of Colonel of Kentucky, Mr. Harlan Sanders. Kentucky also does appear in multiple episodes of Sesame Street, featuring a mailman on horseback that drives and delivers mail in the Appalachian Mountains of Kentucky. So, just saying. We go to the dance with George the janitor, and for some reason, I really love the dance if George is involved.
Yes, because he usually has the best lines.
He does. For example, he claims that children of today are the parents of tomorrow, and Mildred always thought it took longer than that.
That was kind of deep.
Yeah. We have Blue Frackle. He's a Frackle. That's his name. He's the Blue Frackle.
Mm-hmm.
The Frackles are a group of monsters who first appeared in a 70s special called The Great Santa Claus Switch as henchmen of Cosmo Scam, the villain who tried to replace Santa Claus. So he's a Frackle, and his top blows. Our UK spot is actually another one of my favorite sketches of this episode. It's Zoot and Wolf, and they're playing theme from a love story. And this is another one where I wrote very calming.
Yeah. It's just two musicians jamming.
Just jamming. And it actually gets to the point where it's like so endearing that Rolf stops playing and is crying.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, he just gets involved with Zoot.
This is an Andy Williams song that they're playing with just the sax and the piano.
Mm-hmm.
We do have our talk spot, and it was kind of funny. So Fozzie complains that the only one who ever gets to talk on the guest spots, or the guest star, is Kermit. And Lena actually recognizes Fozzie, and she claims, like, you've made a name for yourself in showbiz. Everybody knows you. Therefore, it's only natural that I would know the great Fozzie Bear. And Kermit adds that it's just like how Fozzie would know the great Lena Horne. And Fozzie gets super excited and states how much he loves Lena Horne. And then he asks Lena, do you know her?
I did laugh at this one.
I did laugh at this one too. And I think you're probably going to laugh at the next one. I just know
yeah.
you are.
Hmm.
So we have our beloved Swedish chef. And I laughed really hard at this one. Boop, boop, boop. So today the Swedish chef is preparing for us spaghetti.
Yes. It has a mind of its own.
Yes, it does. And he's spaghetti. Boop, boop, boop. I have so much wrong with this though, because I want to be like, why don't they ever put gloves on the Swedish chef because he's touching the food with his bare hands? Because he's supposed to be prepping it for like all the Muppets, right? So wouldn't it be like in a commercial?
I don't think they wore rubber gloves back then in the kitchens, did they?
Yeah, that's true. They didn't care. They weren't worried about Corona.
It's the 70s.
It's the 70s. We're eating shrooms. We're not worried about Corona.
Yeah, and he's yelling at the spaghetti to get back on the plate.
Yeah, so I even wrote that down. I wrote here.
Are you gonna whistle blow on the Swedish chef with the
yeah,
with the health inspector?
Because he would have just beat them with a spoon and been like, yeah. So I wrote spaghetti runs away, then attacks him. And then we had spaghetti for dinner. So, Gonzo is depressed, and I thought this was super cute. So Gonzo's depressed after Animal kind of ruins his act, and he goes backstage, and Lena comforts him and kind of gives him a pep talk by singing, I'm Glad There Is You. So again, that what Andy was talking about, just very calming, very motherly. This episode is very motherly, if you think about it. But unfortunately, Scooter kind of screws the pooch, so to speak, because Kermit explains to Scooter that sometimes in show business, you have to be ruthless and merciless and cruel. And so when he hears Miss Piggy exclaiming that her number was cut because Kermit didn't want to hurt Lena's feelings and overshadow her, he basically informs her that that was not the reason. It was just that it would make Piggy look ludicrous.
Yeah. He's got to explain his, he wants Scooter to learn. And Piggy, Piggy always thinks that she's better than she is.
Yes, that's a trait of Piggy's that we will continue to see for many, many years.
Yes.
So Fozzie has an act again, and Fozzie does a tribute to Marcel, which I'm not even going to try to say this guy's last name, by impersonating a man balancing himself on one leg and then a man standing on no legs. As you can imagine, doesn't go well.
No.
Doesn't go well. We do have another blackout. This is Lena, and she asks Animal to help her find her other key. She's lost her key, and he does this by hitting her foot with a mallet, and then determines that her key is B flat. Which I loved it. Her reaction was great too, whether it was fake or not. She's like, "Oh!" Like, it actually like puts her hand like I would if somebody hit me with a mallet.
That's funny.
Scooter definitely screwed up because Piggy has decided to confront Kermit about her song being canceled and how he lied to Piggy. Because I actually wrote down, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, Kermit actually rebuffs Miss Piggy. This is the first time we see her genuinely interested, and she's like, "My love, my dear," and I'm in love with you, and he rebuffs her, and he's like, "I don't have time for romance right now. Like, I'm very sorry, I'm very flattered. Like, I'm glad to be seen," because that's what Kermit's saying is he feels like he's not seen a lot. He's like, but I can't. I don't have time for this. And so, it kind of makes her grow angry that one, she's been like tossed to the side as like, I don't want to love you, but now. So Piggy shows him exactly how it hurts, and she waylays into Kermit.
Hiya!
Yeah. We get the first hiya. It's not perfect, but it's the first one.
Yes.
Lena and the Muppets do perform a song called Sing, and this is what I was mentioning to earlier, is actually one of her favorite songs from Sesame Street. So this is another time that we get a Sesame Street song being performed by the guest star.
Yeah, I this is probably my favorite of the whole show, is just this and all the Muppets together singing here.
Yeah. And I
But,
love this song.
But on the whole, this is kind of like episode for me.
So we can't close it, and Lena actually recommends that Piggy should have her own spot on the show, and Kermit says maybe next time she'll get to sing. So Piggy comes launching out from the back, kissing Kermit, throwing him to the ground, which makes this the first time that someone other than Kermit then says, "See you next time on the Muppet Show." We have
That's
Hilda
Hildy.
doing it all the time. Yeah.
Yep.
So, not to jump straight forward, we usually have more facts about the episode than that, but we really didn't have any. But you said that this episode was not really your favorite, and you just
No.
kind of,
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I apologize if you like our final episode of the evening with Mr. Peter Ustinov. I did not.
This was actually my favorite episode so far.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm genuinely sorry when I don't like something that someone likes, but I didn't. This was not one that was my favorite, unfortunately.
How come?
So I don't know. Have you ever watched something and you're like, I like this, but I feel like something's dragging and I don't know if I want to watch this? Does that make sense?
Well, for me, the reason I really like this episode so much is because Peter Ustinov, I mean, I don't exactly remember like all of his roles or anything like that, but he really, goes all in on this.
He
on
does.
this
He
episode.
does. I will give him that.
Yeah, also, he has, again, we'll get to this, but out of all the cameos in The Great Muppet Keeper, his is probably my favorite. So I have that bias already in my head that I loved him so much in that.
That's true. Yeah,
But,
I'll give you that.
So we didn't do the count for this one. So you knew who Peter Ustinov was going in or no?
I did.
Okay.
I did know who he was. He's actually Sir Peter Alexander von Ustinov. He was an English actor, writer, and filmmaker. He's a fixture on television talk shows and lecture circuits for much of his career. He is actually an intellectual and a diplomat. He held various academic posts and served as a goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. And he was the president of the World Federalist Movement. He was the winner of numerous awards during his life, including 2 Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actor, Emmy Awards, Golden Globes, and BAFTA for acting, and a Grammy for his Best Recording for Children, as well as recipient of governmental honors from, amongst others, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany. Unfortunately, he did a lot of things in his life, just like our past guest did. But he passed March 28th of 2004 at the age of 82.
He also played Hercule Poirot in some of the old classic
Poirot. So I did
Agatha
know
Christie.
who he was.
All right.
I'm a huge Agatha Christie fan. That's something I could also talk about for hours and hours. And Poirot is one of my. Marple is my favorite, but Poirot is pretty good. So this one, the main premise of our episode here, episode 112 with Mr. Peter Ustinov, is that Kermit actually becomes jealous because Piggy, Fozzie, and Hilda, as well as Scooter, they all rave about Peter Ustinov. And at the end, Peter actually admits something to Kermit.
Yeah.
So it gets, it's really cool. So this one, I'll go ahead and note, this is going to be the second time that someone says "see you next time" on the Muppet Show. The first time was the previous episode. Peter Ustinov actually gets to the end and does it in his Kermit impression. Our Muppet Show theme, Gonzo gets his beater stuck in the sign this time.
Yes, he does.
We do see our balloon head friend again. You mentioned earlier we would see him. So this time he has an orchestra of balloon-headed musicians. This is the wind section.
This is another weird opening sketch.
Yeah. And it's a parody of an evening at the Pops where the balloons pop one by one, and then the conductor turns around to take his bow, essentially, and his head.
Yes.
I put strange.
Yeah, just another chalk it up to the weird opening sketch.
Yeah. Statler does have a comment about this, though. He comments on the music soothing the savage beast. However, Waldorf points out that it is not the case because Animal joins them in their box to shake them.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes, he's going to give them heart attacks if he's not careful.
Yes. Piggy shows up and tells Kermit that her heart is going all a pitter-patter for being so near the man that she has loved for so many years. And Kermit's like, Piggy, I've already told you I don't have time for romance. And she's like, I am not talking about you. This is when she's speaking of Peter Ustinov. Mm-hmm. After all, he is a Renaissance man, and Kermit is only a leg man.
Very, very funny.
Yes. One of our favorite sketches, mine and your both, is Muppet Labs. And this time, Peter Ustinov actually joins Dr. Bunsen Honeydew in his lab to become a Muppet, where he plays the part of the robot politician. He becomes the British Prime Minister, the American President, and a Russian premier before he malfunctions and explodes, because that's what happens to Bunsen's things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he does a really good Churchill. He does. His American President's kind of a W.C. Fields meets Nixon.
Yeah, but
yeah. Hey, my chickadee, I'm not a crook, see? Kind of thing. And then he does that goofy Russian, and then he breaks. And then he just goes he just goes into all different accents.
Yeah.
Shows how talented he really is.
I did write down impressive. I did.
Yes.
I did. And again, I don't know what it was about this episode, but I just felt like parts were just dragging. So I apologize. So Fozzie enters backstage, and he's now looking for Peter, and he tries to explain to Kermit how appearing with Peter in a sketch is the highlight of his career. If you remember last week, as Kermit points out, Fozzie said appearing in a sketch with him was the highlight of his career, and Fozzie states simply, I was wrong.
They kind of get Kermit. Kermit kind of gets a little comeuppance in this episode.
Yes, he does.
Which he kind of needed in the last few episodes. Mm-hmm.
Everybody's really funny in this one. So like Piggy and Fozzie going to him with their one-liners about his his ability as an actor is really funny. So we go into the dance, and Rolf and his dancing partner go near the punch bowl, where they find out why it's called a punch bowl.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
It was really, really funny. Let's see. Sam the Eagle arrives, and this time he arrives to introduce Doctors Arnold Nude and Frederick Nick, which is really Ustinov and Fozzie Bear, and together they discuss post-Dickinson economics, which is funny. My favorite part of this is when he's like, telling the story, and he's like, I'm trying to tell the story, and he's like, ha, the story. Like, Fozzie's like, all like, ah.
Yeah, this is a fun.
Like his
this is a
hype
funny sketch. Yeah. Yes. All right. I got it. Let me tell you. Sorry. Hold on. Let me tell you. And then I finally wrote at the end, long way to go for that joke.
So in the UK guest spot, Piggy gets exactly what Kermit told her she would. Piggy does sing a very tearful, Hey, Won't You Play Another Somebody Done Somebody Wrong song. Well, Rolf plays the piano, and Fozzie, George, Mildred, Scooter, Janice, Hilda, and Gonzo, whew, that's a lineup, all join in for her chorus. But you know what? She got her song.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's actually pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a nice song.
It was. It was apparently a #1 hit from B.J. Thomas. The song is sung, of course, by Piggy in the UK spot. And this is episode 112. Of course, again, we catch Rolf wiping tears out of his eyes. So Ralph is 2 for 2 on the crying.
Yeah.
We go backstage again, and Hilda tells Kermit how Peter told her that she had an exquisite hem stitch, because Hilda is the costume department lady. Kermit reminds Hilda that he has always told her that her craftsmanship as a seamstress is superb and flawless, and she replies, what does a frog know?
Hilda, do you have quite the hem stitch?
Yes. And apparently that's not good enough. That's not good enough.
Mm-mm.
So I just have to say, my favorite sketch of this whole thing
Yeah, this
is
was a
the
weird
next one.
sketch.
So Sevengal, there's Spin Seven. You could pronounce it a couple different ways. He tries to transform his assistant because he is this. I don't really know what he is. He's a sorcerer type whatnot, basically, but he has a name.
Wizard. I put weird wizard sketch.
Oh,
And it sounds
okay.
like a voodoo thing because they were singing that
Yeah.
voodoo song.
So he is a sorcerer. He has a name, but he's a whatnot, and he's dressed completely in black with a black mustache, black hair, and dark eyebrows. He's what's used as a villain on Sesame Street a lot, like that design, basically.
Yeah, he's a snidely whiplash looking kind
Yes,
of dude.
thank you. But he's the whole time his assistant is singing this "You Do Something to Me," which is supposed to be like cutesy, like almost like you do something to me as in like in love.
Yeah.
It's actually from a musical called 50 Million Frenchmen. It is a love song that defines attraction as mysterious, almost magical experience, which would make sense that we're using this. It references hypnotation. Oh my God, that's not even a word. Hypnotizing someone, spells, and voodoos. It was actually performed twice in the first season of The Muppet Show, both times in a magical setting. So it was first performed by Wayne and Wanda in a sketch in episode 108. Wanda sang it to Wayne as he attempted to saw her in half. If you remember that one, we kind of giggled about. It was kind of silly. So this, I actually absolutely liked this. She keeps getting turned into different things. And at the end, she ends up looking like some sort of animal-like creature, as in looking like animal, basically.
Kind of looks like him a little bit too. The guy,
Yeah,
with the mustache and the eyes and all that stuff. And she's like, "Finally, I thought you'd never get me back to myself again." And the voice changes and everything.
Basically insinuates the cutesy little Muppet that we first meet when they start singing this is not what she looks like.
Yes.
We get Muppet Newsflash, and the newsman receives a report from Copenhagen, Denmark. Dr. Felix Ogelbaum, who is Peter Ustinov, claims to have discovered a cure for a common cold. First, you stay away from sick people. Then you wrap your head in a number 10 size brown paper bag, and you pour honey all over yourself. Finally, hold your breath for about an hour or so.
Yes. Again, they show like just Peter Ustinov can do like any accent basically.
Yes.
And he is it seems to me like he was like, you know what, I'm all in. I'm going to do whatever silly thing they want me to do, and I'm there.
That would be the dream, to be able to pull off that many accents.
Also, I think maybe the reason why I love this so much is because I was so down on the previous episode that maybe I was like looking for anything silly.
Okay.
And this episode delivers.
Maybe that's why I couldn't stay interested. Maybe the other episode, because I watched 11 and 12 together, maybe the other one was just so calming that I wasn't having the goofy at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens. When you watch things at different points in your life or at different moods in your life, you're just not having it.
Yeah.
So we get Wayne and Wanda, and they sing Autumn Leaves. Again, Wayne and Wanda are always cutesy and fun, but they're just kind of filler. We get our panel discussion, which is on psychiatry. Peter plays the part of a psychiatrist whose every word is countered by the confused but opinionated Cynthia Birdley.
Enchantée.
Enchantée, yes. This one was funny. Cynthia Birdley is that purple female whatnot that she has a rather curly fro going on.
She's got a 70s afro, basically.
Yes, she does.
I love the recurring when every time he says psychology, he spits on Kermit, basically.
Yes.
Psychology. Please don't be ridiculous. About psychiatry. And Kermit ducks like every time. Also, I was watching this late at night, so maybe I was a little punchy also. So this cracked me up. Sorry.
Okay. Poor Kermit is about to have those because Scooter then shows up and asks Kermit for Peter Ustinov's autograph, and then reveals to Kermit that he wants to be just like Peter when he grows up. And Kermit says, "I thought you said you wanted to be just like me," because he does tell him in an episode, "I want to be just like you." And Scooter's comment to that was, "I was wrong."
We have a little Statler Waldorf where Waldorf hits Statler. They're a little extra testy this episode.
Oh yeah, this time they're picking on each other. They're kind of going at each other this week. They're being all like with each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I will say this episode and poor Kermit being down brings me one of my favorite songs of all of the Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Being Green.
Yes.
And I'm sure even if you're not a huge Muppet fan, you know this song immediately when we say it. It's one of Kermit's best known songs, and it was written in 1970 for the first season of Sesame Street, actually, and has since become like American standard. And he talks about, it's not easy being green. He expresses like kind of blending in with so many other ordinary things and wishing that he were some other color. Kermit even realizes at some point, though, that there's a powerful association with the color. Green can be big, like a mountain, he says. And so he's kind of giving himself, he's down in the dumps, but it turns him into a pep talk. It's beautiful, and I think it's what I want to be. So,
yeah, I love this song.
This is one of my favorite songs ever.
Yes.
So why I left out the full explanation of what happens in the end of the show is because I wanted that song to kind of make more sense. So, as I mentioned, that the whole gimmick of this entire episode is that Kermit is really, really down because everybody wants to be like Peter, which I understand. You read his accolades. I mean, that's a super smart, talented individual. I could understand wanting to be around him and meet him. But it's kind of brought Kermit down because everybody else wants to be Peter or meet Peter and doesn't care about Kermit. And you can see that from a joke I said at the very beginning of the show, Peter is hanging out with the Hat Rack.
Mm-hmm.
Hat Rack's the writer of the show.
Yep.
Married to the stool that tried to run away when Peter tried to sit on it.
And he does a Kermit impression in the show.
He does. He comforts Kermit and he tells them he's always wanted to be a frog.
Yeah.
And, not to be upset that everybody, you're jealous of me. I'm jealous of you. I've always wanted to be a frog. And he does a great frog impression. And as Andy said, and we alluded to earlier, the show is then closed out for the second time, not this season. Last episode was the first time. This time is for the second time by not Kermit. So.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of brings us to the end of our next bundle of 4 episodes. If you are following along, either go now watch those and kind of take what we said with a grain of salt or with all of the salt in the world. Or if you watched them and then came to listen to us talk about them, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Did you agree with us? Did you disagree? So don't forget, the next 4 episodes will be 13, 14, 15, and 16 to move on forward in this season. So if you have comments or questions about those too, join us at all the wonderful places that we've already mentioned. But Andy, where can the people find you to give you all of their comments and questions about the Muppets?
Well, I'm on the Facebook. I mean, I don't really use Twitter all that much, although we have a Place to Be Pop Experience Twitter, which is Place Experience on the Twitter. There's also the Place to Be Nation proper Twitter, which is mostly the website and the wrestling feed content on that one. But just reach out to me in the Place to Be group or just on the Place to Be Nation page. Yep. Just check us all out. All kinds of fun stuff. And we have trivia night. We're in the semifinals, Miranda. We're going to be crowning a champion soon. We're going to give that belt away finally.
Actually, you're not crowning them. You're going to belt them.
I'm going to belt them, yes.
I recommend that next year we take a page out of my background and we crown them.
Oh, okay.
Crown them. We should get a crown made because my goal would be to win that crown. Yes. Be the crown. Wear the crown. You are the crown.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, check us all kinds of fun stuff out. I have Laughing Theater. The Pop Goes to the Couch is on a little hiatus until Loki comes out. We discussed doing Jupiter's Legacy, but I think we're gonna pass on covering that one. But I mean, it's not a bad show. It's just it's like Great Value, The Boys, I think. But it was a decent 8-episode run, and there's definitely going to be a second season because it ends on a cliffhanger with a twist.
For sure.
So.
For sure. Well, if you have any questions about any shows or you just want to join in the conversation, please come on over to the Facebook group where all of us are present. That Place to Be. It's the only place to be, of course. It's the best group to be in. If you would like to reach out to me, I am more openly on Instagram than I am anything, at Mom's a Nerd, and I recently created a TikTok. Ooh, yeah. Right now it's just like basic content creator stuff with videos and fancy stuff, and I'm pretty proud of myself. So yeah, come find me on TikTok or Instagram at Mom's a Nerd, and shout out in the group. I do chat in there quite a bit often. I get a little sassy when it comes to people making me remove food from my life.
Miranda don't like that.
Miranda don't like that. Miranda doesn't have any time for someone making her remove some sort of food from her.
It's usually I'll the one posting that stuff.
I do, actually.
And then you also yelled at me about the fact that the closest Taco Bell is like 2 countries away to you.
It is 2 countries away from me. Andy, one of our things that we discussed the other day in our group, if you're wondering what kind of content we have for you there, was it's late night and you're going to Taco Bell. What are you ordering? And I actually messaged Andy and was like, damn you, now I want Taco Bell. And the closest one is in Romania. And I can't cross the border yet.
Well, I'll have to reach out to our friend who may or may not work for that company and be like, why isn't there no franchise in Slovakia?
Listen, Košice, Slovakia is the place to be other than the place to be group. I need a Taco Bell. So ding dong, make this happen, please.
I mean, Trumbull, Connecticut has a Taco Bell, for crying out loud. So
my tiny little town I grew up in had a Taco Bell. It was my first job off the farm. So come on. Košice, Slovakia is here for you with open arms. They would devour some Taco Bell. Make it happen. So while we're making that happen, you guys go watch all of the content that you would like on Muppets on Disney Plus, and come back here next time to join us on, of course, the most sensational, inspirational, Muppetational Podcast.
Well, guys, it's just the 3 of us for a weekend in the swamp. Oh, no!